ODs. Who should teach your child about sex? Exactly how much should he or she learn, and at what age? The Birds, the Bees, and the ABCs, beginning Sunday night at 10 on KTHI News 11.
Welcome to the KTHI Sunmark High School Challenge with your host, Steve Poitras.
Good evening. Welcome once again to the KTHI Sunmart High School Challenge. Area high schools match wits in a contest of knowledge and rapid recall. Winning teams will advance until we determine the overall champions, who will receive trophies and a computer system for their school. We're coming to you from the TV studio on the campus of Concordia College in Moorhead with the assistance of Concordia student television employees. Our competing schools this evening are the Dilworth Locomotives and the Lake Park Audubon Raiders. First, let's meet the teams from the Dilworth Locomotives.
I'm Stephanie Aakre, I'm a senior.
I'm Teresa Saarinen, I'm a senior.
I'm Chris Dew, I'm a junior.
I'm Jamie Otte, I'm a sophomore.
The Dilworth Locomotives, and the team from Lake Park Audubon.
I'm Vonda Hansen, I'm a senior.
I'm Catherine Pietola, I'm a senior. I'm Karen Pietola, I'm a senior.
I'm Marcia Smith, and I'm a sophomore.
The Lake Park Audubon Raiders. In our first round, the schools will be competing only against the 60-second clock. They'll have 1 minute to answer a maximum of 10 questions, each worth 5 points. There are 3 categories to choose from. A flip of the coin gave the first choice to the Dilworth Locomotives. Your categories, Dilworth, are music, arithmetic, or presidents. Which category would you like?
Can we have presidents, please?
Presidents. Okay, Dilworth. Each question answered correctly worth 5 points. Your 60 seconds begins now. In your first 4 questions, you must identify the president in office at the time of the following major events. Spanish-American War.
Jackson.
Incorrect. The Louisiana Purchase.
Jefferson.
Correct. The Teapot Dome scandal was discovered.
Pass.
The Alaska Purchase.
Pass.
Before their election, some of our presidents held high public office. Which president held the position of the governor of Massachusetts?
Pass.
Governor General of the Philippine Islands from 1901 to 1903.
Eisenhower.
Wrong. Assistant Secretary of the Navy, 1913 to 1920.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Incorrect. Chairman of the Relief Commission in Belgium, 1915 to 1918.
Pass.
Harry Truman wrote Mr. Citizen in 1960. Whoops, we're out of time. Going back, the Spanish-American War, President McKinley was president then. You were correct on Jefferson being president on the Louisiana Purchase. The Teapot Dome scandal was discovered during the presidency of Calvin Coolidge. The Alaska Purchase was under President Andrew Johnson. The governor of Massachusetts, the president, that was Coolidge. William Howard Taft was once Governor General of the Philippine Islands. And not Theodore Roosevelt, but Franklin Roosevelt had been an assistant secretary of the Navy. The chairman of the Relief Commission in Belgium was Herbert Hoover. In your first round, Dilworth has scored 5 points. Now, Lake Park Audubon, from the remaining 2 categories, what is your choice between music or arithmetic?
We'll choose arithmetic.
Arithmetic. Okay, 60 seconds. What is 2 to the 3rd power?
8.
That's correct. What is 10% of 50?
5.
Correct. What is the reciprocal of 3/4 expressed in whole numbers and fractions?
1 1/3.
That's correct. If there is a 20% discount on a $50 jacket, what is the price of the jacket?
$40.
That's correct. What percent of 200 is 10?
95.
No, incorrect. How many cubic feet in a cubic yard?
9.
Incorrect. What is the area of a rectangle with sides of 3 inches and 2 inches?
6.
That's correct. What is the perimeter of a parallelogram with sides of 6 inches and 5 inches? The perimeter. That's okay. Time is up. You are correct on, let's see, on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 answers for 25 points. What percent of 200 is 10 is 5%. You were giving the other. And how many cubic feet in a cubic yard? 27. You scored 25 points, so our score at the end of the first round reads Lake Park Audubon 25, Dilworth 5. We'll be back with round 2 of High School Challenge after this.
Barrel of Fun snacks and chips are made in Perham, Minnesota, right on the edge of the Red River Valley where the soil is rich. And from that rich soil comes some of the best quality corn and potatoes you've ever seen. It's that quality that goes into all our snacks and chips. And when you start with something good and wholesome, you end up with something good and wholesome. So take another look and another taste of Barrel of Fun snacks and chips.
Barrel of Fun snacks and chips. It doesn't get much better.
Computers for Kids from Sunmart.
This program is probably one of the most positive examples of a business-school partnership.
Thanks a lot, Summer. You've really made a difference at Holy Spirit School.
It's an excellent opportunity for our community to get involved, and that's one thing we really like.
Thanks, Sunmart.
I just think it's so positive for education, and we appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Sunmart from Probesfield School. Thanks, Sunmart.
The people of Dilworth support their high school academic team as they compete in the High School Challenge Tournament. This message sponsored by the City of Dilworth, Northwestern State Bank, Dilworth Dairy Queen, the Hi-Ho Tavern and Cafe, and the Dilworth Booster Club. Good luck to the Dilworth Locomotives.
Welcome back to High School Challenge. As we begin round 2, our score, Lake Park Audubon 25, Dilworth 5. In this round, toss-up questions are asked. The first team to buzz in can answer. If they answer incorrectly, then the question will be repeated in its entirety if it hadn't been completed for the other team. So teams, if you're ready for 15 points. When it introduced the test back in 1926, the nonprofit College Board cautioned that it should be regarded merely as a supplementary record. It has since become a rite of passage for college. Lake Park Audubon.
SAT?
That's right. For college-bound students was recently revised, the SAT, the Scholastic Aptitude Test, for 15 points. Next one. It was begun in the 7th century BC and lengthened in the 7th century AD and again in the 13th. Long in decline, it was dredged, widened, and renovated in 1958. Identify this Chinese waterway. Lake Park?
Time.
No.
Dilworth. Again, begun in the 7th century BC, lengthened in the 7th century AD, again in the 13th, long in decline, it was dredged, widened, and renovated in 1958. Identify this Chinese waterway, the longest and oldest made by man.
Yangtze.
No, the Grand Canal. Okay, here's your next 15-point toss-up. It was carried away from Troy by Diomedes and Odysseus because it was supposed to have ensured the safety of the city. What was this celebrated statue of Athena which shares its name with the element which was recently erroneously thought to be a catalyst for cold fusion?
Time.
Palladium. Next one. His real name was William Dukenfield, and though he took such stage names as Mahatma Cain Jeeves and Otis Cribble Cobbless, he appeared in such movies as David Copperfield and You Can't Cheat an Honest Man. Who was this actor who would have rather been in Philadelphia and who appeared in only one film with Mae West, My Little Chickadee?
Time.
W.C. Fields. Next one. Born in 1822, this scientist, through his discovery of bacteria, single-handedly relieved a silkworm disease which threatened the silk industry. He also developed a process for ridding wine of bacteria. Who was this French biologist who discovered rabies? Dilworth.
Pasteur.
Louis Pasteur, correct, for 15. Dilworth. Here's your next toss-up. Director Alfred Hitchcock was apparently a real sucker for knockout blondes, To Catch a Thief, Dial M for Murder, and Rear Window. For 15 points, who was the Philadelphia beauty who starred in those movies who left Hollywood to marry Monaco's Prince Rainier?
Time.
Grace Kelly. 15-point toss-up. According to Newton's law of universal gravitation, the force of gravity varies inversely with the square of the distance of the masses in question. Taking this into account, if the radius of the Earth were halved, for 15 points, by what factor would the weight of any object on its surface be increased? Lake Park Audubon.
1/4.
Pardon me?
1/4.
Yeah, it multiplied by a factor of 4. Judge says that's acceptable. Okay, for 15 points. In the French revolutionary calendar, the majority of the month pluvios, occurred during the rain month that the Anglo-Saxons referred to as sprout kale, from the sprouting of cabbage. Identify this month of purification among the ancient Romans that contains the modern celebrations of Candlemas and Groundhog's Day on its second. Lake Park Audubon.
February.
February is correct. For 15 points. In 1831, he resigned his pastorate of the Second Church of Boston, and the following year toured Europe, where he met Thomas Carlyle, William Wordsworth, and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. In his divinity school address, he attacked formal religion and championed intuitive spiritual exercise. Name this transcendentalist whose essays include spiritual laws. Dilworth.
John Locke.
Incorrect. Whose essays include spiritual laws, the oversoul, and self-reliance. Can you take it, Lake Park Audubon?
Henry David Thoreau.
No, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Thoreau is a good guess. In economics, it describes a technologically determined relationship between resource inputs and output. It was first stated in the 18th century writings of Turgot, Malthus, and Ricardo. Identify this principle that states that eventually the incremental increase of output per added unit of input will begin decreasing.
Time.
The principle of the law of diminishing returns. 15 points. Its symptoms include a softness of the bones, usually in children. What is this disease which usually results from a deficiency of vitamin D? Lake Park Audubon.
Time.
Skirt.
No. Dilworth, can you take it? What is this disease which usually results from a deficiency of vitamin D?
Ricketts.
Ricketts is correct for 15. Your next toss-up. Born in Nebraska in 1913, he was raised in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and played football at the University of Michigan. He worked his way through Yale Law School, and in 1948 was elected to the first of his 11 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives, which he left in 1973 to join the executive branch. Name this man who was never elected president or vice president, yet held both offices. Lake Park Audubon.
Ford.
Time.
No, Ford.
Gerald Ford is correct. Just in time, Gerald Ford for 15. Your next one. Einstein considered it to be a property of the space around an object rather than of the object itself. Newton showed it to be a force exerted by all objects on other objects. Lake Park Audubon.
Gravity.
That's correct. Identify this fundamental force of nature, gravity. For 15 points. In the 1980s, no Major League Baseball team won back-to-back World Series. In the 1970s, however, 3 teams did it. Of those 3 teams, which one won 3 in a row from 1972 to 1974? Lake Park Audubon.
Yankees.
Incorrect. Can you take it, Dilworth?
Cubs.
The Oakland Athletics. A notorious failure as a businessman, he nevertheless became a power in New England politics by the late 1750s. As a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives from 1765 to 1774, he was one of the first to demand outright independence for American colonies. Name this son of liberty whose political impact... Lake Park Audubon.
Patrick Henry.
Incorrect. Dilworth, name this son of liberty whose political impact waned after the Revolution, though he served as Massachusetts governor from 1749 to 1797.
Time.
Samuel Adams. It is home to the largest lake between the U.S. and Peru, also the Montañas de Huapi and most of the Mosquito Coast. Identify this Latin American nation that lies north of Costa Rica and south of Honduras. Lake Park, Audubon.
Panama.
Incorrect. Can you take it, Dilworth?
El Salvador?
Incorrect. Nicaragua. By Lacian, she was mother of Plutus. That's time on this second round. And our score reads Lake Park Audubon 100, Dilworth 35. We'll be back for the third and final round of High School Challenge after this.
What's that cool going down? What's that chill rushing through you? What's that takes your breath away? That's the taste of real refreshment. That's the real love Diet Coke. That's the taste of real refreshment. Just for the taste of it. Diet Coke.
More and more American businesses who buy computers are now buying Apple computers. And no one's been putting Apple computers on America's desks longer than Computerland. In fact, no one's put more computers on America's desks, period.
See the high-performance Macintosh SE30 at Computerland, your authorized Apple dealer.
The Red River Valley Winter Shows get bigger and better with something for everyone. The fun starts on opening day, February 15th, with the pig races. Then there's plenty of great entertainment with the Night Owls at the Old Time Dance, Saturday the 16th. Then keep your toes tapping on Sunday the 17th with the International Fiddling and Accordion Contest and Jam Session. And the whole family will enjoy seeing the Donkey Basketball game Monday the 18th. So visit Crookston and explore Minnesota at the 81st Annual Red River Valley Winter Shows.
Welcome back. It's time now for our third and final round of High School Challenge between Dilworth and Lake Park Audubon. Our score reads Lake Park Audubon 100, Dilworth 35. In this round, correct answers are worth 20 points, plus a correctly answered question earns that team the right to answer a 10-point bonus question. Teams, if you're ready, here we go. It's associated with the mitochondria and is a complex cycle of enzyme-controlled reactions by which pyruvic acid is broken down in the presence of oxygen. Lake Park Audubon.
Digestion.
Incorrect. Going on, for Dilworth, it's associated with the mitochondria and is a complex cycle of enzyme-controlled reactions by which pyruvic acid is broken down in the presence of oxygen into carbon dioxide and ATP is synthesized. What is the name of this cycle, also known as the citric acid cycle?
Respiration?
The Krebs cycle. Your next 20-point toss-up. Low tobacco prices had already upset Virginia's small farmers in the 1670s when the colonial government's slow response to Indian raids angered them even more. The yeomen revolted in 1676 under the leadership of a wealthy young planter and member of the House of Burgesses. Identify this revolt, which was crushed after the leader for whom it was named died suddenly. Dilworth.
Shays Rebellion.
Incorrect. Identify this revolt for Lake Park, which was crushed after the leader for whom it was named died suddenly of causes unrelated to the revolt.
I don't know where she's from. Do you know?
Time.
Bacon's Rebellion. Your next one. Julius Caesar died on the Ides of March, but this man wrote the Ides of March. Also, Lake Park Audubon.
Time.
For Dilworth. Julius Caesar died on the Ides of March, but this man wrote the Ides of March. Also a playwright, his The Matchmaker was the basis for the Broadway musical Hello, Dolly. Identify this Pulitzer Prize winner and author of Our Town.
Wilder.
Thornton Wilder is correct for 20. Dilworth, here's your bonus worth 10 points. March 30th, 1981, he fired 6 shots, 1 hit the president. Give me the name of the would-be presidential assassin.
Lee Harvey Oswald?
No, John Hinckley, Jr. Okay, your next 20-point toss-up for both teams. Guru Nanak was a teacher in the Punjab during the 15th century whose teachings were incorporated into the Adi Granth by Guru Arjan during the next century. Thus, this world religion sprung up in India, rivaling Hinduism. Dilworth.
Confucianism?
Pardon me?
Confucianism?
Incorrect. For Lake Park, Audubon. Thus, this world religion sprung up in India, rivaling Hinduism. What is this religion, most of the contemporary adherents of which are named Singh?
Buddhism?
No, it's Sikhism. Sikhism. Okay, 20-point toss-up. In 1957, he made the first non-stop supersonic flight from Los Angeles to New York, but his fame rests principally on a February 20th, 1962 flight in the Mercury program. Identified... Lake Park, Audubon.
Jaeger?
Incorrect. Dilworth. Identify this man who on that day orbited the Earth 3 times to become the first American to do so.
John Glenn.
John Glenn is correct for 20 for Dilworth. And here's your 10-point bonus question, Dilworth. Secretary of State James Baker responded to a recent Iraqi threat by saying it fell under the 3 R's. We've read it, it's repugnant, and we reject it. Iraq had threatened to execute what group of American citizens for sheltering others?
Time.
Diplomats. Okay, going on, your next 20-point toss-up. Born in Russia, he came to the U.S. at the age of 5 and began his musical career as a singing waiter in cafes. A self-taught Lake Park, Audubon.
Irving Berlin. Irving Berlin.
That's exactly right, Irving Berlin. Here's your 10-point bonus, Lake Park, Audubon. What controversial weapon kills people by radiation without causing widespread property damage?
Time.
The neutron bomb. 20-point toss-up, both teams. One of the stories regarding the derivation of this term is that it comes from the estate of a kind slave owner on Manhattan Island whose slaves lamented when transferred south. Another version says that it originated from the $10 bills issued by the Bank of New Orleans. Identify this popular name for the southern states of the United States. Lake Park, Audubon.
Dixieland.
Dixie or Dixieland is correct. Here's your 10-point bonus, Lake Park, Audubon. God forbade Adam and Eve to eat the fruit of what tree?
Time.
The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. 20-point toss-up, both teams. Born in Picardy, this theologian studied at Paris, Orleans, and Bruges, gradually coming to accept the doctrines of the Reformation. In 1528, he openly declared his Lake Park, Audubon.
Martin Luther?
Incorrect. Going on for Dilworth. In 1528, he openly declared his acceptance of them, the doctrines of the Reformation. In 1533, he was banished from Paris and took refuge in Basel, Switzerland, where he published his most famous work. Identify this author of Institutes of the Christian Religion.
Time.
John Calvin. Toss-up. In 1980, at the age of 80, this longtime racehorse owner married a jockey, 36-year-old Robin Smith. At 43, Robin finally got the cash in after 7 years. Who was her husband who died in 1987, who left a film legacy which included Top Hat, Holiday Inn, and The Towering Inferno, and was the longtime dance partner, Lake Park, Audubon.
Shoemaker? Shoemaker?
No. And was the longtime dance partner of Ginger Rogers. Dilworth, can you take
Kelly?
it? Pardon me?
Gene Kelly?
No, good. Fred Astaire. Fred Astaire. Okay, for 20 points. First published in 1846 in Godey's Ladies' Book, it takes place during the carnival in an Italian city. Concerning the revenge plotted on a connoisseur of wine by Dilworth.
The Amontillado?
A Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. That's correct for 20 for Dilworth. Here's your 10-point bonus. An algorithm is a mathematical operation. What is an aphorism?
Time.
It's a saying, a maxim, a proverb. Okay, our score reads 140 for Lake Park, Audubon, 95 for Dilworth. Going on, 20-point toss-up. It has its highest point at Mount Osso, and its largest cities include Launceston and its capital at Hobart. Located roughly between the Indian and Pacific Oceans, it lies across the Bass Strait from mainland Australia. Identify this Australian island state. Lake Park, Audubon.
Tasmania.
That's correct for 20 points. Lake Park, Audubon, here's your bonus. What 2 states border Florida?
Say it. Alabama and Georgia.
Correct for 10 points. For 20, here's a toss-up. It was especially written and first performed during the 1749 London celebration of the Peace of Aix-la-Chapelle and the end of the War of the Austrian Succession. Identify this Handel suite written for wind band that takes its name from the pyrotechnical display that accompanied it.
Time.
And we're out of time. It was fireworks music or music for the Royal Fireworks. And that concludes the third and final round. And unofficially, our score reads Lake Park Audubon 170, Dilworth 95. We'll be back to validate the final score after this on High School Challenge.
Being cool to find is a state of mind. A refreshing attitude when things get hot. Cool is all you got. Doing it country cool. Mountain Dew. So chill on out when the heat comes on. With the cool, smooth Mountain Dew. Doing it country cool. Mountain Dew. Doing it country cool.
Sunshine cookies and crackers are the perfect snack for you and your kids. You'll like them because they have low salt and no cholesterol. Kids like them because they taste good.
When things go wrong, the time is right to find someone on whom you can always depend, a friend.
Hey, Brandon, aren't you coming? I lost my milk ticket. I've got an extra one you can
The
have.
very best friends, the very best times, through the years with Gas Clay.
This is the best milk I ever had.
Who should teach your child about sex? Exactly what will he or she learn? And at what age? Sunday night at 10, News 11 will give you a look at the birds, the bees, and the ABCs. Hear from parents, kids, teachers, clergy, counselors, and politicians. Know what curriculum is being developed in the communities throughout the area. The birds, the bees, and the ABCs, beginning Sunday night at 10 on KTHI News 11.
And the score is official. Our winner this evening on High School Challenge, Lake Park Audubon 170 over Dilworth 95. So Lake Park Audubon will advance. We have some time to talk to the contestants just a little bit. Stephanie, you're a senior, I know, at Dilworth. Do you have plans for next year?
I plan to attend college.
Okay. How about you, Teresa? You're a senior.
I plan to attend Morehead State.
Morehead State. Chris, I know you're also quite a runner in track and cross country, a distance runner. You have any future plans beyond high school?
Just basically college, I guess.
Okay. And Jamie, you're only a sophomore. You have any long-range plans?
Concentrating on finishing high school right now.
Okay, very good. And Lake Park Audubon, Vonda, you're a senior, right?
Yes, I plan on going to college and get my doctorate in child psychology.
Very good. Kathy, you and Karen, by the way, are twins, of course, and you're both seniors?
Yes.
And you have any plans?
I've joined the Air Force, so I'll be going to basic in the fall.
I see, the Air Force. Karen?
I'm working on joining the National Guard, and I'm hoping to be a doctor.
Very good. Marcia, you're a sophomore. Have you thought about the future yet at this point?
Planning on going to college and possibly into genetics.
Okay, very good. Well, next week, our contestants will be the high school teams from Perham and our wild card winner, Morehead High, who earned that wild card spot by having the highest point total of any losing team in the first round. They scored 270 points in losing to Valley City's 300 in our very first contest. So Perham and Morehead next week here on High School Challenge. Thanks for joining us.